25 years ago today, Marty McFly first hopped into Doc Brown's DeLorean and took the world on a magical ride back to the future. Now in the film's 25th anniversary, you can experience the trilogy like never before on Blu-ray. We're going to talk to the reunited cast in a moment, but first let's take our own trip back in time. A teenager, an inventor,
88 miles per hour!
And a sports car.
You built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
With the help of a flux capacitor and a little plutonium, Back to the Future transported Marty McFly back in time and turned Michael J. Fox into a household name. Back to the Future was the #1 movie at the box office for 8 straight weeks when it was released in the summer of 1985, going on to become the highest-grossing film of the year. The movie featured Michael J. Fox, best known for his role on NBC's Family Ties, veteran television star Christopher Lloyd, 80s film icon Leah Thompson,
Hello? Hello?
and the eccentric Crispin Glover. Although it was billed as an adventure, it also fit nicely into the sci-fi genre, and the time-traveling teenager was born. Using Doc Brown's invention, Marty is sent from 1985 back to 1955, where he must make sure his parents meet and fall in love.
I'm George McFly. I'm your density.
But by interfering, he alters history and almost erases himself from the future. After repairing the damage, Marty must find a way to return to present day. Originally, Eric Stoltz was cast as Marty McFly, but filmmakers felt it wasn't working. So after 5 weeks of shooting, Fox was recast in the role.
Hey, Mark. Action!
But because of his commitment to Family Ties, Fox had to film during the night, forcing the crew to race through reshoots and post-production in an effort to make its summer release date.
In about 30 years!
Back to the Future went on to produce 2 more films in the franchise, making it one of the most successful trilogies of all time.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
And the stars of the Back to the Future franchise are Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, and Mary Steenburgen. We've also got writer-director Robert Zemeckis and singer-songwriter Huey Lewis. Good morning to all of you. This is so cool. 25 years. Can you believe it?
No, it's...
Well, yeah.
But at the time, though, Chris, did you know when you were making this film, this is going to be something? I'm onto something.
No, it's just day to day. Just, hoping everything worked out. I didn't sniff, that this
Success.
was in the works.
Yeah. Well, Bob, this was your baby.
Yeah.
It really was. And I know when you first shot this to the studios, nobody was interested. Disney thought it was too risque. Other studios thought it wasn't risque enough because some of the other teenage-geared movies that were coming out were far more risque. So how did you get Universal to bite?
Well, it was actually I had to make another movie before anyone would take this seriously. Unfortunately, I was able to do Romancing the Stone, and then they started, because of the success of that movie, they thought, well, maybe this guy can make this movie work. But Steven Spielberg was always a fan, and he was always a supporter, so we brought it back to him. He took it to Universal, and that's how it got started.
And why 1955? Why was that when you went back in time? Why was it 1955?
Well, because we did the math, and we wanted Marty's character to be the same age as his father. So the movie takes place in 1985, so we went back, exactly 20 years.
Yeah, and Marty McFly here, Michael J. Fox, they wanted you originally, but you were tied up.
Yeah, I learned eventually that they had been interested in me from early on, and I couldn't do it because I was doing Family Ties, and Gary Goldberg couldn't let me out, and I didn't even know about it. And then they made a change, and they came back to me around Christmas time, and it was out in the summer, so it wasn't until like the December before.
You mean after they tried your role with Eric and it didn't work out?
So they had a really brief window to get it done. So I came in and I did the show in the daytime and the movie at night, and these guys, adjusted their schedule and we got it done. But
do you even remember making this movie? Because
no.
you're basically,
I don't think I did make it. It was a lot of it. There are literally big chunks that I can't remember, and there are also scenes where we shot my coverage, but they'd shot the coverage for the other people before. So I was seeing performances that for the first time that I was supposedly in the room with, but I wasn't.
And Chris, you didn't want this role at first of Doc Brown.
I kind of I got an offer to go back to New York and do a play, and I kind of felt, gee, that's something I should do instead of gambling out here and a career out on the West Coast. And I sort of made up my mind I was going to do that. And then the script, I was doing a film in Mexico, and the script for Back to the Future came in, and I didn't know anybody involved with it, and I looked at it and I thought, so I just said, to hell with it, And then I would go back to New York, be an artist,
Fool, what a fool.
But then somebody said, you should really at least take a look.
Take a
I
look,
took
yeah.
a look, and agent persuaded me to go back and meet Bob, and
thank goodness, because I
thank
can't
goodness.
imagine another Doc Brown either. You're the best.
Well,
Great.
It changed my life, as well as everybody else's,
Yeah.
too.
Leah, when you were told you're going to play Lorraine, you're going to play her at the age of 47, and you're going to play her at the age of 17. And for 47, they had to do a lot of work on you every day.
Yeah.
3 hours plus of makeup, the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because we would be like, "Oh, you look so old," and now, of course, I'm there. But especially in Back to the Future 2, I was covered in plastic from here all the way to here when I was Lorraine with the big boobs. So that was a real dream of mine. So.
What was the most fun?
It was all it was all a lot of work, but for me, the fun was seeing when Bob Z was happy with something that we were doing. He would just giggle, and it was so hard for him, and it was really fun to kind of make one of his visions come true.
Yeah, the word is you were possessed, essentially, making the film.
Had to have been, yeah.
Yeah, to do it. And Huey, you provide the music for the film, but also it was your first acting gig, right? Did that come with the deal, or?
Yeah, well, it was Bob's idea, and
You played a teacher.
let's face it, I nailed it in one take.
Was that typecasting, the nerdy professor?
It was Bob's idea. We thought it would be kind of a nice inside joke, if we weren't credited and sort of disguised a little bit.
And,
It was really fun.
yeah. And Mary, you came in on Back to the Future Part 3.
Right.
That's hard at that point. You're joining a well-established cast. Were you nervous about it?
I was more nervous about just the personalities on the set sort of accepting me into the ranks. I felt like a new kid at school, and they couldn't have been sweeter. From day one, it was amazing. I mean, Michael was a great leading man and host, and I had wonderful love scenes with Chris, who was very romantic, and he and I had my very first film. Chris Lloyd was in the first scene I ever did in a movie in Going South, so it was incredible to work with him again.
And this was your first on-camera kiss was with Mary, correct?
The first and last.
I ruined it for all others.
Do you have a favorite moment, Michael, in all these films?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to separate the film actually from the experience.
Yeah.
But in terms of like parts of the film, I mean, I love the Johnny B. Good scene. I mean, it was just, for me, it was a fantasy.
Well, you played the guitar, yeah.
It was so great. And I mean, otherwise, I just have memories. I just have, like Leah said, you made me smile thinking about Bob. Bob would get a shot, and then he'd say, "Wait," and he'd start thinking, and he'd get this look in his eye, and you think, "Oh my God, what is he going to do now?" There would be some ridiculous thing, and you just go, "Wow, he should be locked up."
And the DeLorean, that wasn't the original time machine, was it, Bob? Originally, wasn't it going to be a fridge?
Well, the very first script, it was a refrigerator because it was a very complicated, a whole complicated deal. But we realized, if you were going to build a time machine, it should be a vehicle. You should be able to, move around in it. So then we came up with the idea of it being a vehicle, and then we came up with the idea of it being a DeLorean because we wanted to look like a spaceship in the 50s.
Which is what the family, when you land,
Exactly.
when Marty lands, they think it is a spaceship from the 50s. One of the biggest fans of this original film, the first one, was Ronald Reagan, who's mentioned obviously in it when you go back in time, or back in the 1980s, he's president, and he actually quoted it, State of the Union address. Mm-hmm. And after that point, the movies took on a different significance, didn't they, culturally?
They seem to, yeah. They seem to become part of the culture in a more in a deeper way, and they're used to explain a lot of things. I mean, the title Back to the Future is used a lot.
Why do you think it has resonated with people so much, these movies?
I think it's got a great message in it. It's also like incredibly entertaining and beautifully written. The script is beautiful, but I think that whole idea for me of that if you just stand up for yourself in that one important moment of your life, you can change everything. For me, that's really profound, and it's a good thing to teach your kids. And
you all have kids. They've seen it, I assume. Do they get it? Did they get the references, or is it like Greek to them?
It's on so many levels it works on any kind of audience, I think.
I don't know if they particularly get the cultural references, from the 50s and stuff like that. But what resonates with them is the characters and the action and the sense of fun and someone said yesterday that the irony. It's ironic that the movie about time travel is timeless. It has something for everybody. It's really wonderful to be a part of.
Do people still call you McFly when you're traveling?
Oh, yeah, in Bhutan, in the jungles of Thailand.
No.
Swear to God, yeah. I've been in Bhutan, and a bunch of monks came by, and one of them went Marty McFly.
The monks did. Oh, that tells you something. All right, Michael, thank you. Chris, Leah, thank you so much. Mary, Huey, and Bob, thank you as well. Great. It's great to see. I said to you before, I saw them back to back yesterday, and it was just a wonderful travel back in time and Back to the Future. Thank you, guys. Again, the Back to the Future trilogy is now out on Blu-ray. We are back right after this.